Welcome to Shine. I'm all about friendly, soul-nourishing, spiritually inspired conversations that expand perspectives and offer practical guidance so you can live joyfully and shine brightly. I believe your experiences are a result of the perspective you bring to your circumstances. If you expand your perspective, you can transform your life. I believe everyone has something special within them, a unique gift, a light you are to find and share with the world. You are meant to shine. I believe you are meant to live with complete joy and peace. Nothing less. It's just awaiting your allowing. Ready to get to it? Here we go. Hello and welcome. As you know, I am a big fan of energy, understanding it, working with it, and shifting it for the greatest benefit. I also know that our experiences are the result of the perspective we bring to our circumstances, and there's perhaps no greater influence on our perspective than our energy, because it informs the attitude we bring to any situation. Recently, I was introduced to the concept of an energy assessment, a methodology used by life design coach Jeanine Mouchawar. This method defines 7 distinct energy levels, ranging from level 1, victim, fearful energy, to level 7, joyful, passionate energy. Unlike the more intuitive energy assessments to which I am more accustomed, this process uses 84 questions to measure how much of your energy comes from these various levels. Fascinating. I've invited Jeanine Mouchawar to share more about this assessment, her role as a life design coach, and how her own personal journey led her to this purposeful work. I hope you enjoy it. Hello, Jeanine. How are you?
I'm great, Mary. Thanks for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Oh, it's so great to have you. It is so great to have you. So I always love to start. Please start by introducing yourself for our listeners.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I'm Jeanine Mouchawar, and I was born and raised in Los Angeles. And then I went to Stanford, where I met you.
Mhm.
And after college, I was in marketing for about 10 years, mostly the entertainment industry. Then I got married and had 3 beautiful kids, and I was a stay-at-home mom. And then now I'm in my next chapter of life as a life coach.
Wow. Wow. No, so how did that all happen? How did you go from where you were to a life coach?
Yeah, so, when I was doing the stay-at-home mom thing, there was obviously a lot of time that was super joyful and fun, many years of that. But, with 3 kids, there's always some highs and lows. And as we kind of rolled into the high school years, we hit some bumpy roads. I think it's been, it's challenging right now with kids, with social media, with the pressure and stress and anxiety that's so prevalent today, some bullying, and just kids just feeling a lot of pressure, either from themselves, their peers, their parents. So yeah, it was a bumpy road for us. And I ended up getting exposed to these life coaching tools during all of this. And it had such a dramatic impact on my family, my relationship with my children, my relationship with my husband, and just my own self, that I thought I need to share these tools with everybody, because there's a lot of people struggling out there.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I can't believe I was never taught this in school. These concepts are so important and can just have such a huge impact on your life satisfaction and happiness. So yeah, I just started doing a deep dive into it. And, now I share these knowledge and tools and techniques with people who partner with me or people who follow me on social media.
Wow, that's awesome. When do people typically come to you? When does someone need a life coach?
Yeah, that's a great question. I need a life coach when they're feeling kind of stuck, when just life is not going the way they wanted to go or the way they imagined. And they
Yeah.
have this picture in their mind of where they want it to be. And they're just kind of having trouble figuring out, well, how do I get there? You might feel exhausted all the time, or stressed or frustrated a lot, and you're just not sure why.
Yeah.
And so, a life coach can help illuminate what's going on for you and help you set some goals or get some clarity around what you really want. And then just it creates an environment where we create small steps that are manageable and doable that you can take
Yeah.
to start to kind of, get your life going in the direction you want it to go.
When you were on your own personal journey, did you reach out to another life coach or did you just do research and kind of come up with these tools on your own? How did that all happen?
So initially, we were in kind of a group therapy, family therapy program, and we were
Yeah.
exposed to concepts of dialectical behavioral therapy. And because those resonated with me so much, and I started doing a deeper dive into those concepts.
Can you explain what that is?
So dialectical behavioral therapy, it's a little more forward thinking and action oriented. So you're not spending a lot of time researching or thinking about your past experiences and kind of why what happened to you happened. It's more forward thinking about, okay, this is the circumstance, this is what is now. What are my thoughts around that? What are my feelings around that? And how do I adjust that mindset in order to, get my life going in the direction I want it to go? Or, in my case, it was my relationship with my child.
So, what did you discover about dialectical behavioral therapy as it relates to launching into this new chapter in your life?
I discovered that it was very synergistic with the principles of life coaching. And that, being a life coach shares knowledge and tools and techniques that are very similar to this type of dialectical behavioral therapy. And so I was
Yeah.
able to, within a year's time, get certified in this and then start sharing this with other people and helping other people.
Ah, gotcha. So, do you find that your practice focuses more on families or who do you typically work with?
Yeah, so I have been mostly just a general life design coach for
Yeah.
anyone, who is feeling stressed or exhausted, overwhelmed, is feeling like their life is spinning out of control and just wants to kind of feel like they're more consciously creating the life that they want.
Right.
But what I really love doing, where my real passion lies, and where I find the kind of clients that I tend to gravitate towards working with me, are moms who just kind of are in kind of in the muck where I was,
Yeah.
where they're just at their wits' end, and they have tried so many different things: reading books, listening to podcasts, talking to friends, seeking counsel, and just nothing is working for them in terms of their relationship with their children and getting their children, sort of guiding their children in the direction that they're hoping they'll go in.
Yeah.
And those tend to be the people who come to me, and I really can help pretty quickly and easily get things back on track for them because I've gone through it.
Yes, exactly. In fact, I always say that, I feel like our life experiences all have such great lessons and learning and meaning and uniquely prepare us to not only be empathetic to others who've experienced that, but to help them in ways that you uniquely can. So I can completely understand where that comes from. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So interesting.
Yeah.
Um, One of the things, Jeanine, that as we kind of reconnected and I was so fascinated by is the work you do with energy and energy assessment. Tell me first how, because on this podcast, I spent a lot of time talking about energy. How do you define energy? And how do you think about it? And then tell, if you can, share with us about the energy assessment and what that is all about.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I'd love to. So, when you and I were talking about energy and the way I think about energy and share it with my clients is, I'm really talking about how are you showing up each day when things are going really well? And also, how do you show up when you're in a stressful situation? So, there's anabolic energy and catabolic energy, these two types of energy that we talked about. So the catabolic energy is the kind of energy that can be really draining and stressful. It's when you're feeling exhausted or overwhelmed or even angry. And those kind of emotions and those thoughts that go with it really can take you down. And when you're in that space, it's really hard to be enjoying your life,
Right.
and to accomplish the things you want to accomplish.
Yep.
Um, and so, in contrast, there's this anabolic energy. And that kind of energy is when you're feeling, you're like you're in the flow of things and time doesn't exist, or you're feeling really peaceful or calm and confident and all the thoughts that go along with that.
Yeah.
And so the energy assessment will illuminate for each person when you're feeling energetically anabolic and when you're feeling energetically catabolic, and what for you specifically is the root cause of that.
The thing I found amazing, I actually worked with Jeanine on my energy assessment. Basically, you take this questionnaire, just go through series of questions that seem, straightforward. The thing that blew me away, Jeanine, is when we met and we talked about my energy assessment. I could not believe how much you nailed me. Meaning how this energy assessment picked up so many nuances about me that I'm like, how could that possibly be? I thought that was crazy. So, for instance, I took some notes from mine. You are a connector. You possess innate intuitive abilities and depth that enable you to connect with people. You are in synergy with others. You live in a state of flow. At a soul level, you believe you have a purpose and that anchors you. You have an ability to access your energy of joy and contentment. I'm like, wait, what? Like, how did that come from that? And then a whole bunch of other stuff and ways that I can, use my energy productively in circumstances. I mean, it went on and on and on. But tell me, is everyone that blown away when they received their energy assessment? Because I was like, what? Like, how could that come out of those questions? How does that happen?
Well, I actually get that response frequently. Yeah, this energy assessment was created by the founder of the coaching program I went through, which is the Institute of Professional Excellence in Coaching. And he studied energy for many, many years and created this assessment. And, as you know, the assessment is filled with just sort of everyday questions about your attitudes or perceptions or beliefs about yourself and the world around you and other people. And then I was trained on how to analyze the answers to those questions that, comes across as what are people's thoughts and feelings and beliefs that are really, manifesting in their everyday life. And so through just being trained on it, it enables me to analyze the way you, Mary, specifically answered the questions.
Yeah.
And then what, as I reflected back to you what your strengths are and your unique gifts, but also, things that where you might be getting stuck. Like
Yeah.
maybe, some people get really stuck in worry when they're thinking about the future all the time. Some people feel like they're walking around with this weight on their shoulder. Other people, avoid conversations, difficult conversations, and those kinds of things. Like subconsciously, you don't even realize the impact it's having on your life, and that it's
Yeah.
it's keeping you kind of stuck. but it does. And so, sort of looking at the combination and the interplay of all the questions, which is really unique to every person who takes the assessment.
Yeah.
Through our conversation that we had together, I offer you an observation that I, made through the assessment. And then we talk about, does that resonate with you? And,
Right.
where do
Right.
you see this showing up in your life? And yeah, nine times
Right.
out of 10, most people are like, yeah, that resonates with me. And I'll tell you
Crazy.
exactly where that shows up in my life.
Yeah. And on things that I hadn't even really consciously had acknowledged. But when we talked about it, I'm like, yeah, that's totally true, So it's so revealing, I think. I thought it was so fascinating in that regard. And another thing too, which I loved with the work that you did is that everything is actionable, right? So it's not just theoretical. It's this information that you can then use in your life to benefit your happiness, your state of being, so it's a really empowering thing because it really equips you and arms you with this great information and ways specifically to practically apply it. And I'm kind of all about that, right? It's one thing if people take la 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 la, but it's like, so what do I do with that? So I think I really appreciated that in that assessment. I thought
Oh,
that was pretty amazing. Yeah.
well, great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I've taken other assessments too. And to be honest, often I walk away feeling like it labeled me.
Yeah. Right.
You are strategic, or
Right.
you are,
An
and it's really
extrovert, or
hard
you
to,
are, right? Yeah.
okay,
Right.
well, now what am I supposed to do with that
Yeah.
information? And so
Yeah.
one of the many beautiful things about this assessment is, you learn how you're showing up energetically.
Yeah.
And by kind of gaining those, like you were saying, aha moments, revealing moments, that awareness about yourself, you then have the power to choose differently, right? It puts you back in the driver's seat and gives you the
Yeah.
power to be like, okay, now I understand, what's going on in this area of my life. And because I have this awareness now from the assessment, now I can make a different choice if I want.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
the amazing thing about the assessment is, it talks about your energy, and you always have the power and ability to change that energy.
Right.
So
Right.
it's not labeling you. It's just
Right.
showing you, hey, this is where you're showing up right now in these
Right.
different areas of your life.
It's so exciting. And the other thing too, which I really loved when you explained this to me, is that this is back to kind of your saying the labeling. I mean, the beautiful thing is this is capturing where you are in this moment, right? So it can and does evolve and change. And so that's the thing too I thought was interesting because it's not just like one and done and boom, it really does change. And so I can imagine what a powerful tool this is for you as you work with your clients because now you have this really honest kind of no denying this is what's happening right now from which you can work from. It
Yes.
kind of cuts out all the BS stuff, right? I mean, gets right
Yes,
to it.
I'm giggling over here. It does. It fast tracks you into just getting right down to the work and start
Yeah.
making changes in your life, which, that's what people are paying me for, is
Yeah.
to create change and get their life going the way they want. And I'm just such a believer in this assessment because it really cuts out so much time
Yeah.
in like the whole getting to know you phase, and
Yeah.
what's going on for you. It just really like boom, zeros,
Cuts to the
narrows
chase.
in, cuts to the chase. Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I thought that was really amazing. And I can imagine what a powerful tool this is for you and to also have this common language to then work from with the people you work with, right? So I think that would also be incredibly, incredibly valuable. Tell me some great stories about how this has, been incorporated into some people's lives, real world examples of how people have used this and applied it to their benefit. Can you share a couple of things?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'd love to. So, yeah, I have this client who, when we went through the assessment, and she was leading with the primary energy of being a caring problem solver. And this worked really well for her at work and in her job. Super successful, got things done, things were going her way. It was great. But when she came to me, she was feeling very like just exhausted and worried all the time. And so one of the things we were coaching around was her child who was applying to college. And, as you know, there's a whole long to-do list, lots of things
Yes, there is.
to check off as you're applying to college. And, her thought was, my daughter is so unorganized. Like, I need to go in and help her get organized. So, she gave her like a calendar and, a to-do list with all the things she needed to do. And, in her mind, she was doing what energetically is like in her wheelhouse, right? And,
Right.
and what was so logical to her, because that's like the energetic space she lives in. Well, you can imagine, your teenage daughter doesn't want you telling her what to do or how to manage her life. And her daughter was like so irritated and annoyed with her. And, typical teenager rebelled and was like doing nothing, and deadlines were going by. And my client's heart is pounding and she's getting more and more worried and more stressed. And so consequently, she shows back up with her caring problem solver energy. And they're in this like horrible cycle,
Oh my
right?
gosh.
So, when she brought this and we coached around it, it was sort of we talked about, okay, you're in this, your wheelhouse of energy is this caring problem solver energy, but that might not be the best way to connect with your daughter. She might be coming from a different level of energy, and what works for you might not work for her. And it was sort of this like, oh, it's very like aha moment, and kind of got her out of her headspace thinking about, well, where is my daughter and is her energy and what are her strengths? And how could maybe I generate a conversation with her where I come from a place of curiosity and listening and offering help, to get her to basically do what she wanted was the to-do list so she could, get meet all the
Right.
deadlines applying to college.
Right.
So
Right.
it's kind of like creates you in this space of, if you realize like energetically how you're showing up and how maybe sometimes that's working for you, like it was for her in her work environment.
Yeah.
But sometimes it doesn't
Wasn't
work for
flying at
you.
home.
What's not flying home? Exactly. Yeah. And so she kind of like
Wow.
all those catabolic feelings of frustration and annoyance and exhaustion, with her daughter were kind of putting these blinders on where she couldn't see how to get into her caring problem solving energy. Like that wasn't working. And so, like you were saying, like having this common language through the energy assessment and learning about 7 levels of energy and catabolic versus anabolic energy, it kind of allowed her to sort of take a step back, take a breath and look at the situation more objectively and be like, okay, right now, when I'm in this catabolic level 2 energy of frustration, well, the action I'm taking, telling her what to do is not working. So, how can I come from a higher level of energy, maybe like a level 5 level of energy, which is like that win win energy? And, how can I approach this where I'm, addressing my issues and she feels like she's in control of her life? So, it kind of helps the client take a pause and maybe choose a different kind of thought to have about the situation and consequently a different type of approach, which gives you a different result.
Now let me ask you a question in that scenario. Her daughter didn't go through an assessment, right? So she had the tools to be able to understand or think about her daughter within the context of energy, and she had enough knowledge and tools from the work with you to be able to kind of get, okay, wait, right? Because her daughter wasn't put through the energy assessment, right?
That's correct. So, the thing is, all that my client had control over, all we ever have control over is our own thoughts and feelings and actions.
Exactly.
And
Yep.
so it's having that recognition that, okay, the thought I'm having right now is, and the action that I'm taking. Because if my thought is, she's never going to get her to-do list done. So my action is I'm going to go tell her what to do and give her a to-do list to check off, and then the result is not what she wants. The idea is, okay, so what would be a new thought so that
Right.
I have a new action to take? And by learning about the energy levels, it enables you to do that a little more objectively and take some of the heated emotion out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great tool. I've actually noticed myself in a couple of circumstances, like going, oh, wait, okay. I know what's happening here. It was actually really interesting. So it's like anything, right? It's like that awareness, that kind of consciousness of seeing it objectively and then being able to choose differently, right? To change kind of, and to kind of be aware of how you're showing up in that moment.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, to your point, oftentimes we're reacting and responding in life unconsciously. Right, we're just kind of going to the way we respond with our gut, and we're not even aware that's how we're showing up because that's just what feels natural to us. But what the assessment does, it illuminates some of those unconscious thoughts and brings it more into your awareness. So like you said, you can almost, like, when you feel yourself, oh, I don't like how I'm feeling in my heart, in my chest, in my gut, right? You can take a pause and be like, well, what's going on right now? Where am I showing up energetically? And no wonder I have a stomach ache. I am worried about where my kid's going to go to college.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Right. Exactly. That's so interesting. I think it's fascinating. Tell me this, because I just love the work that you do. What is the most surprising thing that you learned about yourself through this work?
Well, I'm so glad you asked that because I actually did something I've never done before. Just to share with you, I took this assessment when I was initially trained on it a couple of years ago. And then I recently took it again with my coach, with my life coach. And so I went back and looked at my original assessment and compared it to my new assessment. So originally, when I was introduced to all of this, and I was a little newer with all the coaching tools and techniques and principles, um, I led with my head. Like, I was a, big time problem solver, very rational, rationalizing everything. And I kind of that collaborator connector energy was trailing. And I was really leading with that tolerating and justifying energy. And part of that, looking back on it, part of that is most of us have to do that as a mom, right? Like, we have to there's situations and we're going to rationalize them and tolerate them. A lot of times we have to put ourselves last just to kind of get things done and move forward. So, I found it's very normal especially for moms, to have a lot of kind of that caring energy, but also that tolerating and rationalizing energy.
Yeah.
And then I took a look at where my energy was now, and it did a complete 180. So
Wow.
yes, it was so exciting. I was like, this is so cool. So after like learning about these at the energy level, learning about like where I am and consciously making choices when, I am having a stressful experience, like pausing, recognizing it and choosing differently. Now all of a sudden I was leading much more with my heart and heart-centered energy, and leading like as a collaborator and a connector. And there's connection energy on different levels, which you and I have talked about. I always connected on a personal level, with people, with my kids, but all of a sudden I had a lot more spiritual connector energy. And that's only when you start aligning your life with your values and your purpose. And, now just thinking about it, like, it enables me to create. It's so much easier and faster. And, connect on just a whole, you know, new, deeper level with people and my world around me. And like I'm able to tap into a flow easier and my intuition and creativity daily, where before, the way I was showing up energetically, things felt like just more difficult and like more of a struggle. So I'm so glad you asked that because it was super cool to see how I've grown, because I was able to take the assessment, before I did some intensive where I got coached intensively and then afterwards. So,
That is awesome. That is so great. I love that. I mean, we're all learning and growing all the time, right? I mean, that's a cool thing.
mhm.
And to be able to take that learning and really apply it really relevantly and practically into your life to create that kind of change and shift. I mean, that's, I think, what the most exciting part about everyone's journey is, right? It's like we all go through these kind of paths, but to reach those points where you kind of can tangibly feel yourself evolving and seeing that is really, it's really amazing. It's really so amazing.
Yeah, and when I reflect back to kind of those high school years and how, communication wasn't as great with my kids or with my husband, and I, wasn't as happy as I am now. And to see that, wow, learning about energy and the different levels and, gaining a lot of this self-awareness, I now like life is just going much, much better and really terrific.
Yeah.
Like my kids are happy and doing great. There's constant, easy flow of communication, full transparency and honesty. Um, we celebrate each other and, accept each other. And it's really had just a really dramatic impact on myself personally and my family relationships and also, my relationships with my friends.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. I know that you usually have this energy assessment as kind of the entree into your life coaching relationship with your clients that you work with. I was so excited to be able just to do the energy assessment itself. And I know that's not something you usually do. But listeners, got some good news for you.
Yeah, of course. I mean, Mary has just been so enthusiastic about this assessment. And it's so fun for me to see somebody just really to, receive like all this benefit from going
Yeah.
through the debrief with me and then integrate it into her life. So I wanted to offer her listeners the opportunity to take just the assessment.
Thank you, Jeanine. So sweet of you. And I have to say, not only did I get a lot out of my time with you, but you were so lovely to work with as well. So incredibly patient and genuinely caring, a great listener. So thank you for that too. And I know that anyone who is considering working with you will enjoy every moment of it. So, Jeanine, if someone is interested in learning more, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Yeah, well, first, thank you for those beautiful words. It was so fun to debrief you on the assessment, and just your enthusiasm is infectious. But yeah, if you want to learn more, you can email me. My email is Jeanine@JeanineMouchawar.com. If you want to take just maybe a deeper dive and exploration into some of these concepts that we spoke about today, you can follow me on Instagram. And again, that's at Jeanine Mouchawar, or you can go check out my website, JeanineMouchawar.com.
That's awesome. And Jeanine, that's JeanineMouchawar. Did I get that right?
You did. And thank you for spelling that because my guess is no one would be able to.
I will definitely leave this information in the show notes so you can catch them there. Jeanine, thank you so much for joining me today and for shining your light so brightly. Thank you for all the work that you do. It's absolutely beautiful.
Thanks, Mary.
it's always amazing to see how we can use and work with energy in so many interesting and wonderful ways. I hope you enjoyed today's interview with Jeanine Mouchawar. Thanks so much for joining. And as always, be kind and shine. Until next time, take it easy.